Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for listening. Thank you for downloading. And thank you for subscribing to the latest edition of the 12 Kyle podcast. This is a bonus episode, so thank you for tuning in. I appreciate it. Check this out. On this episode, what I'm going to talk about is the remix, the podcast remix. Now, if you've been listening and following the podcast, you know that from time to time, some of us podcasters will remix an episode. What I mean by that is a podcaster will put out an episode, and what you do is you take that episode, you put it in a pot, you mix it up, put your own ingredients in, and you put it out to the world for them to consume. And this episode will be no different. Many of you guys know my brother, my man from the West Side, Baylor, BTG for President is the name of his podcast. He put out a podcast actually at the time of this recording just a few days ago. Before he recorded the episode, he hit me up. He shot me a voice note on text. And he said, "Hey, 12 Kyle, I'm putting out this episode. I want you to remix it before you even heard it." I was like, "Okay, bet." He was like, "What you got to do is you got to come up with the top 10 hip hop cruise songs that you cruise to when you're in the car listening to hip hop." I was like, "Okay, bet." Now, I said that not knowing that, or at least acknowledging the fact that there's a gazillion hip hop songs that I've heard, right? So to narrow it down to 10 that I cruise to is not necessarily easy. That being said, I said, "Okay, I'll do it." And he said, "Hey, it's going to be 10 songs, no more, no less." And he said, "Hey, what you can't do is when you hear the podcast, you can't go back and redo your list." And I was like, "Nah." So what I did was I went to my iPhone, put in my notes, just the songs that I cruise to, right? Okay, so we get to that point. So then Baylor drops the episode, right? And the episode is dope. But here's the thing. He kind of colored outside the lines because not only did he not just use hip hop, he threw a little R&B in there as well, but he did like 18 songs, right? I said, you know what? I'm going to keep it at 10. I'm going to keep it hip hop and I'm going to keep it a bean. And shout out to Britt, our homegirl Britt, her podcast. I can talk about this all day. She actually remixed it and she did a beautiful job as well. But what I'm going to do is give you 10 songs that I cruise to. And I'll give you the scenarios, like maybe where I was in my life, what I was driving and where I was kicking it at, or maybe where I plan to be driving or what I plan to be driving or where I plan to be, as I talk about this in the episode. So without further ado, this first song, and these songs, let me be clear, are in no particular order, right? This first song came out in 1993. It's a hugely popular song. Personally, I think it's one of the greatest hip hop songs ever. But this song takes me to, I used to cruise to this joint on Hennepin Avenue. That is in the city of Minneapolis. I used to live in Minneapolis. I lived in Minneapolis for a better part of a year. I was out there for work. And Minneapolis, let me say this about Minneapolis. Minneapolis is a beautiful city in the summertime or when it's warm. In the spring and summer, it's very, very beautiful. The fall and winter, I've never seen that much snow before in my life. I've never been that cold before, but it's a beautiful city. I plan to go back really soon. Again, dope city. But yeah, I used to cruise to this. I used to be up and down Hennepin Avenue. I used to put this on and just ride to the Mall of America where I could, cop a little gear. This joint right here, it is 1993 Electric Relaxation by a Tribe Called Quest. Check it out. Now listen, that joint still, again, I can maintain that it's one of the best hip hop songs ever. And it still goes hard. I mean, it still goes hard to this day. My next joint, I'm going to go back a little bit. We're going to go back in time. We're going to take it back to 1991. And I'm in my Baylor. I'm in the UCLA Bruin Blue Nissan, 89 Nissan Sentra. It was a stick shift. I used to put this joint on when I used to drive to Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. My hometown, Florence, South Carolina, is only about maybe 45, 50 miles from Myrtle Beach. Myrtle Beach is a huge tourist attraction. Most people know about it. But yeah, I'd get in the car and put this on. I mean, like this song you can put it on anywhere, but I really used to cruise listening to this joint right here. 1991, DJ Jazzy Jeff and the Fresh Prince, Summertime. All right, so here's the other thing that I found to be interesting about when Baylor hit me up and said, hey, I want you to remix this podcast. He was almost convinced that he said that we would have at least 2 or 3 songs similar. I thought about it. I was like, nah, probably not. Because I know how my list was going to go. I didn't know how, because here's the thing. He didn't tell me what his list looked like. And I didn't know it until I actually heard the episode. And like I said, I have the episode in the show notes, so you guys can go listen after you listen to this podcast. So that brings me to track number 3. And again, these are no particular order. I used to cruise to this joint. It's not really a cruise song, but I used to cruise to this joint. I'm going to go back. We're back on campus. I'm in college. It's like 1993 on the campus of South Carolina State University, where I went to school. Play football, as you can see if you're watching on YouTube. Thank you for watching. You can see my helmet right here, my jersey up above me. So I'm at South Carolina State. I'm leaving Bethea Hall. This is where I'm still in the Central now. I'm in the Central, 89 Central, and it's sitting on 13s. It's sitting on Dan Marino's. So driving up, leaving campus, and as I get to the front of the campus, Bradham and Manning Hall is right here on the right-hand side. That's the girls' dorm, 2 girls' dorms. And then on the left-hand side is Washington Dining Hall, the CAF. So it's springtime. Everybody's out. Girls, shorts, everything. Springtime in Orangeburg. So you know the weather's nice. And girls are coming out the dorm, and I'm coming up, and I'm leaning back a little bit, and I'm playing this joint right here by Gang Starr. It's called DeWick. Man, listen, you can't go wrong with a Primo beat. I'm riding through the campus. I'm bumping that. I'm turning and I'm going down Chestnut, and I'm still bumping it. I'm going down Chestnut Street all the way to the Prince of Orange Mall so I can cop me some CDs. I had a little hookup at the CD store, and so I get a CD and, get a hookup. But yeah, that DeWick, man, listen, played it all the time. Still bangs to this day. Shout out to Gang Starr, rest in peace, Guru. All right, so here's the funny thing between my list, and again, it's not about whose list is better, because it's hip hop, right? Here's the funny thing about my list. I was almost certain that Baylor would have this next song on his list, and it didn't make the list, much to my surprise. I thought if there was one we'd have in common, it would be this song. It is my favorite, one of my favorites. Well, it's my favorite song off this particular album. I'm going to take it, and I'm surprised because Baylor didn't put this on this, and the song was in his backyard. Baylor's from LA. He's from the east side of LA. Shout out the east side. He went to Fremont High. Okay, so this joint right here, man, listen. You know what? I'm in the rental car. I just landed in LAX. I'm in LA. I landed. I'm in the rental car. I'm in a Nissan Sentra again. This time it's a white Nissan Sentra. Driving down Figueroa. Staples Center's on my left-hand side. I'm going up to my hotel. The hotel is on the corner of 7th and Figueroa. Listen, you gotta be bumping this right here, Baylor. I'm surprised it didn't make your list, man. From 1992, Dr. Dre, from the Chronic album, Let Me Ride. Man, listen, that's my favorite song off that album. Favorite song off that album. Shout out to Dre, shout out to the Chronic. All right, so let's go back a little bit. We're gonna take it back to the yard. We're going back on campus, right? This joint right here, I will honestly say this song got played in almost every single car. When the tape came out, that CD, if you had the CD or the tape, you was bumping it. It was in every single room. I don't care who you were, you had this playing. I played it, man, all the time. But I mostly was in the car riding through the yard, and you had to play it, and you had to kind of lean back a little bit, and you had to drive slow because this ain't one that you just drive fast on. So you got to drive slow enough so when classes are changing, especially during the middle of the day, and students are walking, all the girls can hear it coming from your factory speakers. Baylor, you gotta. This is a Southern classic. The song "Space Age Pimpin'" by 8 Ball and MJG. Holla at me. Listen, MJG said, "I'd be obliged if you step outside." I don't think the word obliged has ever been used in hip hop in a song other than Space Age Pimpin'. Love this song. Love that group, man. Shout out to those two brothers, man. So Baylor, our lists are different. So as you can see, like I got East, I got West, I got South. I'm a little bit all over the place, but these are my cruising songs. I cruised the campus of South Carolina State looking to find someone pushing this on. Now, this is before I got married. I ain't about to snitch on myself. Nonetheless, let's move forward. Number 6. All right. This song is a pretty popular song. You all have heard the song, but there's a memory that comes with this song. I'll never forget. I had just left one of the homies' cribs, and I was riding down Oakland Avenue. And I'm back home in my hometown of Florence, South Carolina, right? So I'm riding down Oakland Avenue, and this comes on, and I'm headed to the grocery store. Well, I'm going to the grocery store because I was given instructions. Hey, get some hot dogs, hot dog buns, hamburgers, hamburger buns, and some water. And that's all I was bringing. No, I wasn't going to a cookout, but we were having our own cookout and a pool party at our crib. So this song always reminds me of the pool party at the crib. Yeah, we had a pool. And the cool part about the pool parties that we used to throw was like, listen, if you wasn't if you wasn't in the crew or you wasn't down with the crew, you didn't get invited. The pool party was strictly for the crew and friends of the crew, and that's it. And so, nobody, we didn't allow like riffraff to come through. It was just the girls, the crew, and affiliates, and that's it. And this song takes me back like summer 95, man. We did this quite a few times at the crib. Notorious B.I.G., Biggie Smalls, rest in peace. One More Chance, me riding down Oakland Avenue, bumping this, headed to the store to get some food so we can throw it on the barbecue for the pool party. Check it out. All right. It don't get no better than Biggie. Man, listen, this joint right here, I used to cruise to a lot of times, like where we were in Orangeburg, where that's the city where South Carolina State is located. We'd be in Orangeburg, but then we would go to Columbia. Columbia is the state capital of South Carolina. For those of you history buffs, don't know your geography, and Columbia is about 30 miles from Orangeburg. So I would get on Interstate 26, man, and I would pop this tape in. The tape, when I tell you what it is, you already know. It's the purple tape. And the reason why they call it the purple tape, because the tape literally was purple. But the tape was produced and given to us produced by RZA, the artist, Raekwon, the song, Incarcerated Scarfaces, Holla at Me. Now I used to cruise to that joint that was perfect cruising music on I-26 on the way to Columbia. You throw the purple tape in, more specifically Incarcerated Scarfaces, and I'm in. I'm all in. All right, so let's go back a little bit more. Baylor. Okay, this is one that I again am surprised, and I know Uncle Dolomite from the Too Much Game podcast, he's surprised too, because both of you guys, Uncle Dolomite's from Compton, and Baylor, while he had West Coast artists on it, he didn't have this particular song. And listen, let me tell you something. And I may come back and do I may do another episode where I talk about where I do like a cruising down the street, West Coast songs, cruising down the street, Southern songs, East Coast, North, whatever songs, Midwest. I may do that as well. Who knows? It could become a series. I don't know. It depends. And the reason why I say that is because like musically, my taste is everywhere. Like, so while I grew up in Florence, South Carolina, and, you know, was heavily influenced by Run DMC, LL Cool J, Public Enemy, Eric B. and Rakim, the list goes on and on and on. Around 80, 87, I got introduced by my man Jay Fresh to a group called 783. 783 was a group from California. I think that was the first group. Was that first? That was like the first group that I heard from California, right? And then 87 was 783. And then later that year, it was NWA, and the rest was history. I got huge influence and love for West Coast music and still do to this day. But I'm very surprised that this didn't make the list. And I know Uncle Dolomite probably is a little mad at Baylor for not putting this on the list. It definitely is going to make my list. Uncle Dolomite, I'm coming through your hometown. I'm coming through Compton. I'm on Rosecrans. I'm gonna hook a left on Bullets, and I'm going straight up so I can get on the 105. And when I'm doing that, and I'm gonna be playing it slow and quiet, because I don't want to bring attention to myself. I'm still in a rental car. I'm in a white Sentra, and I'm just cruising through Compton. I ain't making no noise. Don't want to bring any attention to myself. Shout out to the Blues and the Reds. I ain't got no problem with nobody. So I'm just trying to get to the 105. But yeah, I'm coming down Rosecrans and make a left on Bullets, headed to the 105, and I'm bumping this right here. Still DRE, Dr. Dre. Man, listen, that song, if you don't move to that song, if you don't get up and dance, I mean, you might even get up and shuffle your feet as those gangsters do. It just depends, man. I mean, that I love that joint, man. That's one of my favorites, definitely my favorite song from Dre. So yeah, so we coming up on the end. We at number 9. Number 9, I'm gonna take you back. I'm gonna bring it back to the A. I'm in Atlanta. No, we ain't in Atlanta. We're you know what? We're in Houston. We're in H-Town. Shout out to H-Town. I'm out there a lot. So I'm in H-Town. I'm in the Lexus. And I'm on Westheimer. And Westheimer is a long ass street, but I'm coming all the way down Westheimer, bumping this joint right here. I'm gonna stop and get me something to eat. First, I'm going to Trill Burgers first. You know, once I get my Trill Burger, I'm getting back in the car and I'm riding down Westheimer, and I'm bumping this joint right here, and I'm playing it at loud, ignorant volumes. It is none other than Slum Village Climax. Listen, that joint came out in like what, 2000, I think. And it still makes me feel good and cruise no matter how many times I hear it. I remember the first time I heard the song, I heard it on a loop, and I just kept playing it over and over. I found a clip online, and I just played the loop over and over again, man. Shout out to the late, great James DeWitt Yancey, a.k.a. Jay Dilla, the king of beats. My man. Rest in peace. All right, we're at number 10. And again, none of these songs are in any particular order. They're just songs that I just get in the car and cruise to. Where am I? I'm on Peachtree Street in Atlanta. I'm back in the A. I'm in the Lex. I get on Peachtree Street. I'm up by Vortex. I'm at Vortex, and I'm coming south toward the city. Vortex got some really good burgers too. If you ever in A, check out those burgers at Vortex. A lot of weird looking people in there, but don't be offended. Everybody's mad cool. Everybody's mad cool. So I'm parked. I'm like riding past Vortex, headed south. I'm on Peachtree Street, and there's a lot of people out. It's a summer day, and I'm in the A. I gotta play the joint that signifies that to me, that gives you that feeling of '94. It gives you that feeling of Atlanta, the city that was bubbling, the city that was really coming into its own in hip hop, the place that gave you and from the artist that said, you know, the South got something to say, and the South has been pretty much running hip hop for for the better part of the last 20 years. I'm bumping this joint right here. Players Ball, Outkast, The Reprise. Check it out. And so there it is, man. I mean, that's 10 joints, Baylor, that I cruise to. Just cruise. Again, these aren't the best songs of the world. These aren't like the most hitting songs. These didn't have the most streams or any of that other dumb shit that people quantify songs on. These are just bangers that I just listen to in the car when I'm riding, man. Whether or not I was in my rental car or I was in the Nissan Sentra or I was in the the borrowed Lexus because I don't have a Lexus. But that's beside the point. Yeah, so it's like, those joints really, give me a feeling of cruising. And I like to just listen to the music and just ride, man. I think as I've gotten older, I really miss those times. I miss riding around Atlanta when there is no traffic, because in Atlanta, there's always traffic. When I'm in Houston, the traffic is a bit much, but I've found ways to navigate it. Wasn't really a lot of traffic in Minneapolis, particularly, especially in the wintertime. People go to work, come home, and driving in, I actually learned how to drive in the snow in Minneapolis. So I did a lot of riding around and I did a lot of listening to music in the snow. And then coming out to LA, man, I'm always in a rental car, and I always like to ride around to different places. And I try not to look like a tourist, and I try to make sure that I go places where I can be and nobody's going to bother me or anything like that, because I'm a civilian. I ain't part of the street war. But I want to admire the city because it's a beautiful city. It's my second favorite city to go to. But yeah, that's what I do when I cruise, man. I'm looking forward to going to New York and having some cruise adventures there, DC, Miami, Dallas, just to name a few. I'll have some other cruise cities to add to the list. Today was just a few for me. But again, there it is. So I appreciate you guys for listening. That's going to do it for me. Thank you for checking out this bonus edition of the 12 Kyle podcast. Be sure to subscribe to the podcast. The podcast drops every Thursday at midnight. From time to time, we drop bonus episodes like this one on Sundays at midnight. If you haven't done so already, be sure to subscribe to the podcast. We're on all streaming platforms. Follow us on the socials, Twitter X, Facebook, Instagram, and the podcast is on TikTok as well. And if you feel so inclined, you want to throw us a couple of dollars, we'll definitely take it. $, TWELVEKYLE. Again, that's going to do it for me. I am your boy 12 Kyle, and this has been another edition of the 12 Kyle podcast. I'll catch you guys next time. 5,000.